Hey, you fucks. Thanks for, checking out the videos, showing a little bit of support. How about you take it to the next level and show us some love over there on Patreon, huh? Huh? Huh?
Why, hello there. What a pleasure it is to see all of you again, you sexy people, you. What's up, everybody? It's your go by Papa Tikyo coming to you live from, the ADVJapan channel. How you guys doing today? Yeah, so what is the deal? Dad, what the fuck? Your last video was you, doing recording stuff, and, what the hell, Dad? Why are you, back recording here versus walking outside and doing stuff? And, my only response to that is, how dare you talk to me like that in front of our friends and family, you little shit. Hey, stop. No, I'll teach you. I'll teach you so good. You're going to make me wish that I never taught you so good. Anyway, what's up, guys? So last week, as you can see, this is new footage of me on spaghetti. And, yeah, if you guys were part of the live streams recently, you'll know that, so you guys helped me with the donation goal. We got a new intercom system for my for Spaghetti's helmet, and it's pretty cool. It's working, but for some reason the microphone doesn't work. And if any of you guys are bike riders, can you tell me what the hell's going on? Because I bought this this brand and the speakers work fine, but when I try to use any of my recording software or my recording apps on the phone, it only records from the phone. It won't recognize the microphone, and the microphone's plugged in. Allegedly, it works. So maybe I just need to use a different app. I know that Papa Tetsu, when we used his thing, it was a Senna intercom system, and we had to use the Senna app. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know if you can use that with other non-Senna equipment, but maybe that might help it. But anyway, yeah, because of that, guys, I have all this footage that I tried to record audio on, and I do have about maybe 2 or 3 rants where I'm walking around or riding a motorcycle, but it's just it's so God, I'm embarrassed, guys, because it's it's been about 4 or 5 months since I rode the motorcycle, and so it's really hard for me to stay focused. They call it Tikyo rants, right? It's supposed to be rant and rambles, but when I'm at home, it's so much easier to stay focused and stuff here, because I'm sitting down, I can stay on topic. But when I was on my motorcycle, it's I'm trying to talk about one fucking topic, and then I just keep it's oh shit, traffic, oh shit, oh the traffic, oh god damn it. And so I spent 40 minutes trying to talk about this one topic, and I just go off on a tangent. I know some of you guys really like it, but when I look back on these rants, I want to be able to be oh yeah, I can I stayed on topic. Even one of my good friends, Scotty Boy, he told me, he's man, I loved your, this was a while ago, not recently, but he's man, yeah, I love the rants and stuff, but you just can't stay on topic. You're too ADHD about this shit. I'm I know, right? Fuck. So but also it's raining today, and instead of just randomly placing together a couple different rants that I put in there, I like the rants being an hour, something that you can really slow burn, get into and stuff, And the rants that I filmed last week, they were about 20 minutes to 40 minutes a piece. And so, yeah, I either need to stretch those by doing more recordings, or just basically
combine
different rants. So we'll see how that goes. Again, I don't want to be one of those those podcasts or long videos where it's so hard to stay on track and stay on topic and keep focus. Because for me too, it's kind of like a live stream. If there's dead air or dead space, or there's lag, I just turn it off and go on to the next one. But anyway, we're at the 4-minute mark, so here, let me just shout out my stuff. Thank you, everybody who becomes a patron over at patreon.com/TKOSam. We got tons of extra bonuses for you guys there, but including Japanese lessons and Japanese, Japanese book packages to you guys in the mail. And also, we do, I have tours for if you guys want to come over here and you want a cool local tour of Japan. I also offer consultations for you guys who are either you want to move over here, or you're in the middle of transitioning from other jobs and you just need some extra help from your dad. Yeah, you go over to patreon.com/TKOSam and you guys can sign up. And also, you're helping me out because Google AdSense for these, it doesn't pay anything. I make maybe less than $20 a month from this stuff. It pays for spaghetti's gas for 2 weeks. That's about it. And I'm not sounding ungrateful, but yeah, I barely make any money off of this. So like, yeah, I'm really appreciative when you guys go over and support me over there. And if you don't like Patreon, consider becoming a member by pushing that join button. And yeah, either on this channel or the TKO Sam channel. And you know, you get extra access to a special photo dump part of the Discord, and also it's your name gets to be in green, and you get to flex nuts that you're like a cool dude who supports the channel. So yeah, we always do a live stream after each one of these uploads on the main channel. So if you're in the premiere chat, stay tuned for the very end where I'll post the URL for that. Or if you're watching this as a recording and you weren't there for the premiere, then just check the top comment and it should have the URL if you want to see what the live stream was like that day. Yeah, because I like promoting I like promoting the new videos of a live stream each time I upload, and so I like doing it right after the premiere. It's very cool. Also, I just lit a bunch of fucking incense in here. And I realized that I don't have the ventilation set up, so all this smoke is just coming right in me. I lit fucking you know, I have one of those like incense bowls, and I lit like 3 of those. I cut it up and I lit 3 of those at once, and oh man, that was a bad idea because I don't have any ventilation here. I'm gonna turn on my fan and hopefully that can blow some smoke away from me. Oh god, what was I thinking? Ugh. But anyway, yeah, thank you guys for that. And also, please, if you like the videos, don't forget to smash the like button and leave a comment. And the question of the day, and I guess question of the day is, what are you worried about when it comes to Japan? Because I know a lot of you guys watch my videos because, of course, you love me, but also because you love Japan and stuff too. And I see a lot of these like negative comments from like recent videos, not of mine, but like of other videos or live streams recently. And it's just like all these people, they seem like so scared, like scarcity mentality kind of comments. And yeah, today's topic is going to be about over-tourism and the weekend and my perspective, my take on it and stuff. Because I do feel like it's, my take is, like, I'm not trying to be unique for the sake of being unique, but at the same time, I want people to know who are freaking out that it's like, yeah, dude, like, you know, you gotta, you know, don't freak out too much. It's gonna be fine. And yeah, so we're gonna get into that. Let me get a sip of coffee here. Coffee, why won't they let us be together? Why, what do we ever do to them, huh? Yeah, I don't know, Tikyo, I don't know. Oh god. Yeah, coffee, I love you too, man. Yeah, so anyway, it's like I'm making this in May 2024. Oh my god, don't say the date. No, it's bad. And I'm like, nah, dude, I'm just you know, like these rants are like, it's so funny because it's like you can make 2 kinds of videos, right? You can make an evergreen video where people will watch it and they'll watch it over and over again despite on when it was made, right? And then there's like other videos where it's like more up-to-date current event style videos where people probably won't go back and watch it unless they're really interested in on the topic, you know. And I do realize that, like, and acknowledge that this channel is very kind of like boys club, you know, like, you know, boys club. Girls can be in a boys club too. It's just they become boys then because they get to be girl boys, so they get to be in the boys club. But I know it feels like it's kind of like when you come to one of these channels where it's really small but like kind of tight community, that it seems like kind of hard to get into and there's a bunch of lore and shit or whatever. But I try to keep it as open as possible so, you know, new people can get into it if they want to. But yeah, anyway, I've been known for having different opinions about shit in the past, and overall, it's like I don't believe in making a different opinion just to like piss people off to get a polarizing topic, you know, just to like get attention. I don't believe in that. But at the same time, like, if it comes off like that because you're just giving a logical take that people don't like, then so be it. But you gotta at least acknowledge, like, there's people that like really like fucking what do you call it? Like, they build a mountain out of an anthill kind of thing. Like, they really fucking they over exaggerate stuff just for the, like, like, oh my god, I was homeless in Japan for 1 week or something. I'm like, oh no, you had money, you just chose to be homeless as a social experiment. It's like, I hate it when people do that, because it's like I get it, you need the clickbaity like, I saw this guy who I think he's like the editor for one of the like bigger YouTubers here, and he's like, he made a video like a month or two ago being like, I have moved to Japan, and then he just made another video, and it's only been like 2 months. He only came here on a tourist visa, and he's like, I am leaving Japan, and it's like, oh, he was just here on a tourist visa. And I'm like, motherfucker, if he had just made a video being like, oh yeah, I'm coming to Japan on a tourist visa for 3 months, nobody would have liked that. But okay, that's the word I'm thinking of, sensationalizing. But he sensationalized the topic, so people are like, oh my god, wow, really? And yeah, it's so fucking, it's just slimy. And I know that people need to do that to get their clicks or whatever, but I don't know. Papa Tico don't play like that, or at least right now he's not playing like that, And but yeah, it's fucking stupid, right? But anyway, yeah. Yeah, like recently, in Japan, Japanese TV as well as foreign media loves to kind of build up this sensationalizing shit. That, I mean, it's always the same, right? It's always the fucking same about the news or everything. Everyone loves a scandal. Everyone loves a big story that they can focus on, that they can make way bigger a deal of. It's kind of like the Logan Paul situation again, with the Suicide Forest. It's like, oh my god, and I'm like, there are so many other stories that deserve attention right now, but people, they just want, like, I think a lot of people are unhappy or unsatisfied with their life, and I think that also has to do with social media too. Like, you're doing a 9 to 5 regular job. Maybe you're working extra 10 to 20 hours of overtime a week. You're commuting maybe like an hour or two one way each way. You barely have any time for yourself, and you're kind of directionless, and you don't know where you're going, and you kind of know what you want, but you don't know if that's exactly what you want, so you're too afraid on investing time into, like, maybe furthering that hobby or that thing that you like into something that could be money or whatever. And so, yeah, like, people are frustrated, they're angry, but they're like, oh, I love Japan though, and like, oh man, those fucking foreigners, they're ruining it for me. And I'm like, okay, dude, but like, do you live here? No. I'm like, so why do you give a shit? It's like the same thing about like people who are like getting all up in arms about like Israel and Palestine, like, oh my god. And I'm like, dude, like in America, like the system, the system is so corrupted and just like fucking, like every, rent is super expensive, student loans are crazy, you've got crime up the ass and people are ignoring it. And it's like you've got homelessness and mental health issues, but it's like, no, let's just throw money at these wars that are halfway around the world. And I'm like, dude, just fucking focus on yourself, man. Like focus on the people around you. And like, same thing in Japan. It's like, or anything, right? I mean, like, that's the thing that kind of sucks about like the system and everything. Like, you get older and you realize how fucking just greedy and how self-centered all this stuff is, right? And all these people that just don't really give a shit about the overall like greater good and stuff, And it makes you jaded, it makes you feel complacent with everything. And but I'm at the point where I don't get I'm lazy. I know that like complaining about it won't do anything, so I try not to complain about it. Or if I point out something, it's in a sarcastic manner. And I try not to do it that often, right? It's not so much nihilism. It's just like, well, I guess for that take on that stuff, yeah, I guess it could be kind of nihilism. And that motherfucker, he could have gone past that light. He could have gone past that light, and he made me wait. That motherfucker. But anyway, it's just like, you see the world from different lenses and stuff that the older you get. I mean, I'm not even that old yet, right? But it's just like compared to when I was 20 or something looking at the world now, yeah, like there's a lot of different viewpoints, right? And so yeah, it's just like the same thing with the yen and the tourism and everything right now. Like Japan, in my opinion, they spent too many years, like a decade plus. Like I remember when I first came to Japan, it was probably mid 2000s or something, right? And I remember there weren't that many tourists around. Like I went to Kyoto and there was a couple, because there was like fluctuations. Sometimes there were a lot of tourists, sometimes there weren't, right? And yeah, I just remember like Kyoto in 2000 fucking, I don't know, 2005 or something, or 2007 or something, or 2008 compared to like Kyoto in 2012. It's very different from what I remember. Like there was way less tourists earlier than afterwards. And then like after the 2010s, it just seems like Japan really kind of doubled down their tourism stuff. And they're like, yeah, let's try to get all these tourists. They want to come here. They want to visit. Like, let's maximize the profits as much as possible. And and part of me was like, okay, well, Japan's not making the next VCR or mini disc player or whatever. And so, like in the meantime, while they're developing that technology or something to put their foot back on the map and make them the second biggest economy in the world again, okay, like in the meantime, just get that money from the tourist bucks. It's fine. Because like the tourists are still, people are like, oh, tourists don't spend that much money. Like most tourists are just cheap assholes who don't want to spend that much cash. But when you think about it, all the sales tax that they'll pay on everything, because you're like, one of my friends pointed out, well, if they buy stuff from like duty-free places though, then they won't be able, like then they can do like, they don't have to pay tax on that. And I'm like, yeah, but how many people are like going and buying like rice cookers or like really expensive suits? I mean, all these people, they're still going to hotels, they're still going to restaurants, they're still using the public transportation. And then like the people that do have money, they're still like, they're paying for like helicopter rides, or they're paying for luxury hotels or whatever, and those aren't duty free, I'm pretty sure. So it's like, they're still putting money into different industries here, and they're still paying sales tax on it. So like whatever, right? Like it's not like Japan isn't making money kind of thing, right? But yeah, at the same time, you're like, I've been to Thailand, right? Like I've been to Thailand and I've seen what Western tourism looks like from an Asian country's point of view, where like people are just like, oh wow, like my money goes really far here. And like I've seen people in Thailand, like the foreigners in Thailand, like they don't want to learn Thai, and Thai doesn't even really give Thailand doesn't even give a shit about some of its people. Like Thailand is still a developing country. Like there's slums and shit there, and like in Japan there's no slums. People want to do clickbaity YouTube videos being like, oh man, look at the slums, and I'm like, that is not a fucking slum. You want a slum? I'll give you a fucking slum. And so it's just like, one of my worries is that Japan becomes like Thailand, where it's just like they stop trying to focus on developing the country, and they don't care about people learning their language because they accept that most fucking people that travel here are fucking lazy ass motherfuckers who are never going to bother to, like, they want to have that last samurai experience where they understand Japan, and it's like, it looks so good, glossy stuff on the surface, but they don't ever want to, they don't want to get super deep into the language. They're one of those people that will buy like the Genki textbooks, like 3 of them, and then have them for a year. And then when people are like, so are you studying Japanese? And they're like, oh yeah, I've got some textbooks I'm working on. But then they go home and they watch Netflix in English, and they have their fucking English speaking foreign wife with them. And yeah, it's sad because like for me, it doesn't matter if it was Japan or anywhere else. Like I've said this multiple times, but like no matter where I lived, if I lived abroad, I would learn that fucking language, you know? Like, if I went back to the States, I would learn Spanish. Because it's just, like, there's a lot of fucking Mexican, you know, like, Latino, etc. There's a lot of Spanish speakers in America. Like, it pays to know Spanish, you know? And same thing, like, if I went to Korea or Thailand or fucking France or whatever, like, I would go out of my way. I'd be like, okay, there's going to be 2 years of hardcore study, because I hate relying on people, especially when it comes to, like, oh, shit, I got to call my phone company. Hopefully the person that's speaking English to me knows some fucking English, and it's not just, like, some random person, you know? And so, like, I would prioritize learning languages more than anything. And but yeah, like, I don't know, it's just like I ran into a couple of my friends. We hung out like just like a couple weeks ago, maybe like 2 weeks ago or something. And all of us, we all live in different places. One guy lives in like near like a neighborhood near Ikebukuro. The other guy lives in West Tokyo, and the other dude lives in Kanagawa. And all of these guys, man, they're like, yeah, like, they've seen tourists all over the place now. And, like, and I was like, is it tourists or are there people living? And he's like, no, I think so. There's some people that are living there, too. And I'm like, oh, shit. And I wonder, like, are these people, like, what are they doing for their jobs? Are they students? Like, what's going on, you know? And, like, you know, for me, it's like, again, like, I don't consider myself a gatekeeper of Japan. I think that as long, like, Japan is one of those countries where it should be on par with with like America or Australia or Canada. Like, Japan is one of those awesome ass countries that does a lot of things right. And if like other countries did the shit that Japan did, that would fix a lot of their fucking problems. But a lot of the countries, they're so set in their ways. They're like old grandpa. They're not gonna change, even if it's for the betterment of everybody. It's like you gotta wait till like 2 or 3 generations dies off, and then you have a completely new set of eyes, and then they'll be wanting or willing to change, right? And so, yeah, I mean, like, you know, that's the thing about Japan. It's like, you know, like, Japan has so many great things about it. The universal health care. I remember I didn't break my arm, but my buddy broke his arm here. It cost him like less than $50. And then I had another friend that was a mutual friend of ours who went back to America to work and become a tech bro, and he broke his arm, and even with insurance, it cost $600 for him. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I know that cost of living is higher in America, but like, what the fuck? No. And, you know, it's like Japan doesn't have a violent crime, or it has a way, 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 way smaller amount of violent crime than any Western country. They don't allow fucking refugees in here, so they're not importing the third world, pretty much, except for Saitama. But that's a whole other topic. But, you know, it's like Japan is safe. Japan is clean. You can go to the doctor. You can afford an apartment in central Tokyo. And it's not the biggest apartment, but you can still afford an apartment in central Tokyo. Food is not expensive. It's not that expensive to go and, you know, whether you want to eat out for food or you want to, like, stay home and cook food. You know, the school system is, well, I mean, you know, it's a system. Hold on, wait, is the camera frozen? Okay, yeah, sorry about that, guys. Okay, yeah, sorry about that, guys. I just had to double check something because I am switching clips here. I just basically took a bunch of different footage from other videos that I have either made or I haven't made yet, and that's why it looks similar but not the same. That's why I'm wearing a big heavy jacket instead of my light fucking clothing like before. But anyway, yeah, guys, it's just like Japan has a lot of great things about it, and it sucks that Japan had such a bad reputation of like pissing off their neighbors, you know, earlier on, you know, 50, 70 plus years ago, right? You know, it's unfortunate that happened, right? Like, Japan pissed off their fucking, you know, they pissed off Taiwan, they pissed off Philippines, they pissed off China, Korea, and Hawaii. Like, they pissed off a lot of people, but it's unfortunate because Japan is, like, you know, it isn't a utopia, and there's a lot of things wrong with Japan for sure. But at the same time, Japan like has a lot of good things about it too, though. And you know, like a lot of people, like I think the good outweighs the bad, right? It's like the same thing about like Singapore, right? How like all these people are like, oh my god, if you spit on the ground or something in Singapore, you get fined. And I'm like, good, that's disgusting. In Asia, I don't know why, but they love spitting on the ground, and like, and I'm guilty of this too. And so it's like, you know, but what to be fair, whenever I spit on the ground, though, I don't spit on the sidewalk. I either spit into a bush or into a gutter, because I know what it's like just walking past a giant fucking hawked loogie on the ground. I'm like, ugh. So at least I acknowledge that. At least I'm trying to be better, you know. But yeah, it's just like Japan has a lot of great things about it, and I think the Japanese language is one of the most unique fucking languages out there. And if we could get more people speaking Japanese around the world, that would be so fucking awesome, right? That would be so cool. And so, you know, the one great thing about this over-tourism shit is that it's kind of like when the 20 whatever the fuck Olympics were happening in Japan, you know, like the 2020 Olympics or something. Like barely anybody got to come here because of Corona, but the people that did get to come, like I remember this one guy did like he was like a reporter or something for some channel, and he did like a whole blog post about how much he loved Japanese convenience store food and how awesome it was. And it's like, this is great, you know. Like I think that there's a difference between causing meiwaku, like causing problems for people, and versus just like being like kind of like excited tourist, you know. I mean, that's one of the things that kind of sucks about the internet, is that like you get people like from all around the world at any time talking about whatever, right? And it's like, dude, like just shut the fuck up, man. Like, you know, the thing that sucks about the internet is like you have to deal with the hypersensitive, super highly moral ground taking fucking like autistic dudes out there, you know. They're gonna be like, oh, I don't like him, I don't like this guy because he did this one thing. And I'm like, what about you, huh? What are some bad things that you've done? This isn't about me. And I'm like, don't throw fucking stones in glass houses, bro. And I always feel like when people call out like when they want a virtue signal like that, they're just trying to take the scope off of them and put it on somebody else. And so it's like, if you're going to say some shit about somebody, like, you got to be willing to fucking, like, you know, like, what's your stance? Like, that's the whole thing about, like, criticizing bigger YouTubers or something. It's like, yeah, you could have criticism or whatever, but at the end of the day, like, you got to, you know, it's like, if you're not as successful as those people are, then you're just fucking hating, dude. Like, I think there's a difference of, like, you know, it's like, oh, like, I've heard people talk about, for example, like, Oriental Pearl, right? I mentioned her a couple times in these rants, and it's like she has like 1 million subscribers now, right? And I have a friend who lives here. He's probably lived here 23 years or something, and he knows I'm friends with her. And he's like, oh, I don't like her videos because like she's doing he's like, to me, that's not amazing. She's just a white person speaking you know, Asian languages. And he's like, there's plenty of Asian dudes and Asian chicks in America who speak English and no one gives a shit. And I was like, why are you hating, dude? And he's like, I'm not hating. I'm like, dude, she found a video style that resonates with people enough that they keep watching that. And like, at the end of the day, like, if you're going to be angry at anyone, be angry at the people who watch that kind of shit versus the people that make, like, don't hate the player, hate the game kind of thing, right? And it's like at the end of the day, man, it's like, well, okay, so you like those videos, they're not for you. They're not for expats that have been here for 23 years who speak Japanese and shit. And it's like, you know, and I'm like, dude, like, who cares? No one's forcing you to watch the video. You know, like, no one's making you watch the video. And it's like, I get it. You're like, oh, well, I've spent more time in Japan, so my opinion's more valid. And I'm like, well, why don't you make a video then? Why don't you make a video? Oh, yeah, because you know no one would give a shit about what you're saying, and you don't know how to make videos, so you're worried that people would come back and be mean to you. And it's just like, again, it's just one of those things where it's like, just fucking own it, man. Like, there's no need to project. And so, like, I remember when, like, Pearl and I were talking about this, and she's like, it's fine to criticize other creators if you're a creator, but just remember that unless you have the numbers that they do, or you have like successful videos like they do, your opinion isn't going to be counted as much, you know? So it's like, it's okay to criticize, but wait until you actually have a platform where you can show that you've done some actual fucking shit before you start fucking just like throwing stones at people kind of thing, right? And yeah, I am so, well, I mean, overall in general, just don't do drama. Don't do drama videos. But it's like at the same time, like, you know, what do you have to show for it, you know? What do you have to show that makes you better? And if you don't have anything, then shut the fuck up. And it's like sometimes I get crap because, you know, some people will be like, oh, you know, Tikio Sam, he's a freelance guy, you know? He works freelance, he works part-time, and, like, I can't believe that, like, you know, like, he doesn't contribute to Japan or Japanese society. And I always ask myself, what job does that person do? And how much money do they make? And also, do they speak Japanese? Or are they one of those fucking foreigners that just doesn't speak Japanese, hangs out with foreigners all the time, and then they make, like, 30 to 50 grand a year? And I'm like, oh, so you spend 8 hours a day at a job that you probably don't like, that's a golden handcuff job that you just kind of fell into, and you spend an hour or two commuting every day. You're probably dating or married some chick that you just fucking settled for, and you can't leave now because you got the golden handcuffs too, and you're just angry. You're just jealous. Like, you're jealous of the freedom I have. You're jealous that I can actually speak the language. You're jealous that I found something that I like and I'm owning it. And, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, like, there's always going to be, people are always going to justify their shitty behavior in some way, right? But for me, too, it's like, when I see these people that I know that have been here in Japan just as long as me, if not longer, and they're complaining about the tourists, and I'm like, be angry at Japan. Be angry at the Japanese government, dude. They're the ones that fucking, you know, they're the ones that decided to double down on tourism versus actually trying to do stuff to help build the country up again, you know? Because it's like, at the end of the day, I feel that if more people come to Japan and they get that experience that that reporter had, where they were like, wow, Japan does so much shit better than us, like, oh my god, then hopefully they take that and they bring it back to wherever they are. And like, if they get into a you know, like a position of power, that maybe they start to try to emulate some of the stuff that Japan does well, you know? And whether it's something small like changing convenience stores so they have better healthy food, or you know, like they I don't know, they do something where, like, you know, like one of the big enigmas of Japan is like, how does it stay so clean and not have litter if there's no trash cans anywhere, right? And here, let me get some water. But yeah, I mean, like, I feel like, again, like, people, they take a lot of stuff for granted, like too much surface level. They're not looking deeper, you know? And for me, it's like, I don't like the tourism as much, especially when it comes to, like, the rowdy fucking, like, disrespectful tourists. But at the same time, you got to think about it in a numbers game. It's like picking up chicks. It's a numbers game, right? Like, how many of these tourists are actually being assholes and they're like fucking with people? Because I think there's a big difference between being loud on a bus or a train versus going up and like starting a fight with a local, you know? And like, there's a difference between like just being like rude and like physically assaulting somebody, right? And if anything, I mean, you know, with more tourists coming in here, that means Japan's gonna have to be more internationalized, which sucks because I don't want it to be like Hong Kong where there is English everywhere, you know, where I could get away with like speaking English in most places. Like, I don't want that. But at the same time, like, when you're a developed country, you're gonna eventually get to that point, you know, where it's like you need to be able to, like, especially if tourism keeps happening, or if Japan, you know, they don't want to be like Albania or something where it's like they completely shut themselves off to like trading with the outside world, you know. They want to be a country that is developing or stays developing, and one of the ways that they guarantee that is by dealing with, like, you know, like trading and stuff. And you got to remember, like, Japan still imports a lot of its food, a lot of its oil, and so you know, I hope that this is like a wake-up call for Japan, being like, hey, you gotta like get your shit together. Like, there's tons of there's tons and tons of fucking just open areas in Japan that could be used as farming areas, you know, and they'll probably have to use that at some point if China goes to war with them. Well, I mean, China will probably take it over before they even have to do that. But it's like, you know, Japan needs to be like, you know, they need to be able to make money while still trying to be more self-sufficient, you know? And that's why it's like, I don't know, there's all these different things. Like, Japan has a bunch of fucking earthquakes all the time. And so even though nuclear power is one of the cleanest and most efficient ways to get power, Japan's like, what if fucking God decides to shake the ground violently again? Like, you know, that shit's going to leak out and then we're going to have more problems. And I'm like, yeah, you know, that's not bueno. But at the same time, what are you going to do? You're going to keep just importing gasoline, you know? And luckily, Japan, like, there's some cities, like, in Western Tokyo that, like, make it a thing where it's, like, if you buy a house, you have to buy solar panels. And I thought that's pretty cool. Like, that's, like, a must, you know? And that's nice, you know? That's good. There's good news bears and shit. I know that's not a lot, but at least it's a start, right? And, you know, I think that, again, like, with the OverTourism, that hopefully this will help prop up industries. Like, you got to remember, like, during Corona, there was at least, like, what, 2-3 years where a lot of businesses failed. A lot of businesses went under, and they just had to declare bankruptcy. And, but there's some businesses that are, like, thriving. Like, you know, they have, like, this ninja restaurant. I forgot where. I think it's in Ginza or something. And, like, they, like, during Corona, it was bad. Like, they were going to go out of business. But they were able to sustain it, you know, like, now thanks to, like, tourism, like, they are fully booked every day for the next couple months, and I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, like, good for you guys, like, keep that shit up. And you know, I think that it's like, you know, of course, like, well, what about, like, technology industries, what about all this other shit? And I'm like, well, that's important, we still got to work on developing that. But you know, at the same time, like, having the tourism dollars help, like, keep Japan afloat, and then hopefully all these people come back with such a good impression that they want to incorporate something Japanese into their lives, and then they're spreading the good gospel of Japan too. And maybe, you know, maybe the schools can offer Japanese classes more, and more people learn Japanese. And even if they don't move to Japan, at least they know Japanese. And, like, my whole thing is, like, Japan is so great. The world deserves to learn more about Japan and the lifestyle and the way they think. And of course, there's I know there's some people that are like, well, what about the negative things in Japan, like the 99.9% conviction rate, and, like, being held without bail for, like, 20 days and then extending it, and blah blah blah, and the horrible human rights, and, you know, the corruption when it comes to government officials and corporations. And it's like, yeah, that's gonna happen in any country, but I think Japan at least has a lower corruption level than most countries. Like in South Korea, you know, in South Korea, like, they even showed that in God, what movie was it? I think it was like My Wife is a Gangster or something. I forgot the movie, but it's like there's this guy, and he is like a graduate at a, like, you know, he's in his graduate program, and he wants to become a professor at the school, and he gets his PhD, but in order for him to become a professor, he has to bribe, well, like, one of the admin people, like, you know, $20,000 or $30,000 so he can become a tenured professor. And it's like, that shit is not so much in Japan anymore. Like, people whistleblow the shit out of that if they're like, oh, this guy asked me to bribe him in order to get a job. Like, nah, everyone's got Twitter now. You know, they'll call people out. But yeah, I mean, like, again, you got to take the good with the bad, right? And if more and, like, you got to remember, there's a lot of industries here too that, like, no, Japanese people don't give a shit about, like dyeing clothing or, like, making old school kites or whatever. Like, you know, there's the foreigners go out of their way to go experience that shit, and that is so cool, and that is so awesome that they're like, yeah, I want to go and support these industries that, like, you know, like, if there's nobody else doing it, then then it just dies, right? And the thing is that, like, people are like, oh, but what if I don't speak Japanese? And it's like, dude, Japanese people are just so happy like, I'm making a broad general statement here, I know, but I think in general, Japanese people really like it when foreigners get into their shit. Like when like Japanese people are like, oh man, like this guy does karate, or like this guy's into ikebana or whatever. Like they love the fact that you guys love something from Japan, because Japanese people, since when they're kids, they're force fed all this shit about, oh, America's better. Oh, you better learn English because you can't do shit in Japan. Like Japan has a lot of limitations, and so like there's like I remember one of my students. His dad loved Xbox. He was like he was like a reverse otaku, man. Like he was like, I hate Japanese games. I only play like Dogma, the Souls Dogma or whatever. Like I only play like Knights of the Old Republic and shit. Like I don't play any of these like I don't play JRPGs. I don't play what is it? Like I only play like first person shooters and stuff. And I'm like, oh fuck, okay, yeah, damn, dude, cool. And so it's like some people, they really love doubling down on that stuff, and I think like there's nothing wrong with being a weeb. Like if you like anime or you like manga, fine. Like there's no other country in this world right now currently that fucking does anime as good as this. You could say like, oh, in America or Korea. I'm like, no. Japan is always going to be number one when it comes to comic books and anime. Like they're the least ones to become woke, or they're going to be the last ones to become woke, and the quality is just unsurpassable, and they've already got such a big giant library of all these fucking awesome old series and stuff that you can rewatch, and you're like, wow, you can see the amount of detail and time they put into that. Like watch the movie Akira. Watch that movie. It took them 5 years to make that movie, and like you really you notice it and you appreciate it when you see that stuff, and yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like, anything that gets you into Japan, like, it doesn't mean that you're always going to be there. Like, fuck, dude, I've almost been in Japan 20 years now. I still love anime. I still love reading manga. I just went out the other day. I spent $80 on a bunch of fucking used manga just because I'm like, oh, I like this series. I want to read it. And, it's like on Netflix, watching, God, I don't know. I'm watching this TV show right now called Anti-Hero, which is about, like, the criminal prosecution or whatever in Japan, and it's pretty cool. It's shining the light on how corrupt the Japanese prosecutor system is and shit. But that's not an anime. But I guess I've been watching like Solo Leveling and stuff, and I really enjoy that anime. And I don't know. I mean, the whole thing is just like if you like something, like and it has to do with Japan, like just own it. You don't need to be ashamed of it as long as you're not hurting anybody. Then who gives a shit? Like, and also that doesn't mean that you're only gonna be interested in that. It's like, oh, I like maid cafes, or like, I don't know, what's something to collect, or like I like collecting Pokemon cards. Like, even though I kind of think it's weird when a 30-year-old dude is still into maid cafes or whatever. But like, maybe by getting into that, you're gonna skip. What do you call it? Like skip stone. God damn it, I can't think of the phrase. When you're like jumping from stone to stone, like going across a pond. Skip stone? Shit, I don't know. But I mean, the whole point is like you go from one stone to the next. So like whatever gets you initially into Japan will get you into other things into Japan too, Like I really love collecting comic books and VHS tapes. And like, one of the fun things about this is that I get to have the Japanese dub and the Japanese subtitle. So like that's one of the fun things is like, oh, I there's a movie I really like. Okay, well, let's get the dub and the Japanese subtitle version of that, And I don't know. It's just like little things like that. There's this one guy on Twitter I follow who's like super big into Japanese martial arts here. There's another dude who lives in Yokohama who's into ikebana. And it's just like the whole thing is like Japan has so much cool shit to offer. That like like whether it's sports, like I don't like soccer, but if you wanted a reason to get drunk with your bros in a stadium, they got soccer games here. And if you don't like soccer, you can still watch baseball. You can watch sumo. You can go to like live concerts and stuff. Like Japan is so dense in its own Japaneseness that there's always going to be something that you liked back home that you could find a Japanese version of. And that's the cool thing about living here. And so it's like when people are complaining about like the weak yen, right? Like, oh my God, the weak yen. The yen is so bad. And I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean for you though? Well, what does that mean? Does that mean your food is more expensive? Like okay, everyday stuff let's talk about. Convenience store food, or like groceries, or gasoline for your car, or health insurance, or you know, like, or maybe what else, like, or rent or utilities, you know. Like, it's kind of like when, you know, like the swine flu virus or something happened in like late 2000s, you know, where it was like, all these people are like, oh my God, the Lehman shock. Oh, the yen is so bad. And I'm like, well, who are the people complaining about this? You know, like if your rent doesn't go up, your utilities don't go up, if your daily life stuff doesn't go up, then who are the people complaining about it? And then they're like my friend who is like, he constantly travels abroad. He loves buying American clothing, and he loves buying technology, like the newest technology and stuff, like cameras and computer equipment and whatnot. And he loves buying like foreign, domestic, like imported food, you know. And to be fair, this is a friend of mine who did the whole Japanese thing for like 15 years, and then he got married, and like, you know, he has like a bilingual wife, and they both make a lot of money because they're both IT people. And so of course he's got the extra money now to like buy stuff if he wanted to buy it, you know. But at the same time, it's like none of that stuff is essential, dude. He's like, oh man, my daughter's clothing is so expensive. And I'm like, dude, like there are thrift stores everywhere. I'm not buying thrift clothes for my daughter. Are you kidding me? And I'm like, okay, see, so that's the thing. That's the difference between like dudes like that and me. It's like I've always expected, I mean, I don't expect the world to go to shit, but I always expect something's going to happen where things get more expensive than they usually are. And for me, as long as rent doesn't like increase, like I remember in New York, they would just be like, oh, hey, like, oh yeah, hey man, your lease is about up, and like we need to like increase the rent by like a couple $100, sorry. And there's like, what? What, can you do that? And they're like, yeah, we can totally legally do that. In Japan, luckily, they still have a law that says they can't do that, you know? And so, there's a lot of empty ass houses here too. So as long as you don't mind moving to the countryside, or you don't mind living in a smaller place, you're always going to have a lot more freedom to move around and also just like live in the cooler areas, you know? And like for me, I'm like, okay, well, I shop at wholesale places, like basically like mini Costco's around Tokyo for food. I ride a motorcycle, so my gasoline is super cheap. Even when it's expensive, the gas goes a long way for when I'm riding on spaghetti. My rent and utilities, I mean, utilities went up a little bit, but that just means you just go fucking more frugal on the utilities. Like, you know, don't turn on the heater. Just wear a bunch of... I remember there was one winter where I was just like, I was so worried about like spending so much money on the heater that I would just wear... I'd wear one thing of long underwear, 2 sweatpants, 2 pairs of socks, and then I just had my Heat Tech shirt on, and then like a fleece or like a hoodie on, and then I wore a hat inside. And the only annoying part was like, you know, I couldn't wear gloves, but then I got fingerless gloves so I could still type. But even then, they were still kind of bulky, you know. But like I dealt with it, right? Like it's not that big a deal, and I know that if I want to even go one step further. I don't need to, I'm not going to like collect rain from Tokyo. I don't think that's going to be the cleanest rain, but like I do want to start like doing some like vegetable growing and stuff on my balcony and stuff. Like I do want to start growing my own food, or at least some of my own food, you know. And also I just think that's a great skill to develop, you know. Like everyone's like, oh, you got to learn coding and stuff, and I guess that's good if you want to like build a robot to do your farming for you or whatever, but like having that knowledge of just being like, oh yeah, I know how to grow stuff. You know how to grow stuff? Yeah, man, I grew stuff on my balcony. Like I know how to grow some stuff. And like, oh yeah, cool. And I mean, like there's things that are easy to grow, right? Like potatoes or onions or something like that, where you just throw it in the soil and then just let it do its thing. And so yeah, I don't know. I just like I feel like the people always complaining about the weekend are the people that have way more money than me, and then like they're so used to using that money all the time to buy superficial crap that like, you know, they're just like they're complaining for the sake of complaining, versus like, you know, I'm like, this is the kind of person where instead of just buying stuff used and like, you know, and just like putting as much money into savings, like I think the good rule of thumb is put 30 grand into savings, and then after you get to that point, all the extra money that you make each month, just put that into investing, you know. Have like a 30 grand safety net, you know, for if shit hits the fan, and then just like try to put all your money afterwards like that into like, diversify. It's like that one guy in that Dave Chappelle skit, you got to diversify your bonds and something. Yeah, you got to say that. Old dirty bastard sends his regards. And yeah, I mean the same thing. It's like I saw this thing on Twitter from the Nikkei Shimbun. It's like the Financial Times newspaper in Japan, and they were saying how more than ever the younger generation is like investing. Like they're investing in the stock market. They're doing FX trading, and they're also buying real estate. Like there's more Japanese people buying houses now than ever before, they said. And I'm like, wow, that's fucking awesome. That's good. But that also means that, I mean, that's another thing that's to like kind of worry about, right? It's like if there's so many foreigners coming to Japan, because you can basically buy your green card, you can buy permanent residency in Japan. Like if you move, I don't even remember how much. I think it's like over $100,000 from like an American bank account or whatever bank account to a Japanese bank account. You can speed run like your permanent residency visa. I mean, like I'm guessing that's what PewDiePie's gonna do. I've met some Chinese people who did that, and I even met this I met this guy whose dad owned a car dealership, and then when his dad died, he sold it for like close to like $800,000 or something, and he had a Japanese girlfriend at that time, and he's like, I just don't want to work, and she's like, but he didn't want to get married to her, and so he just came over to Japan, and he was able to get like, I forgot, I really wish I could talk to him again. His name's Taylor. If you guys know any white guys named Taylor who have been in Japan for 18 years, and maybe you know that guy, but yeah, I just remember him being like, yeah, when I moved all that money over to like a Japanese bank account, and I was like, why the fuck did you move that over? And he like, didn't you have to pay a bunch of fees? And he's like, I did, but like, fuck it. Like, he's like, I was done with America. I'm just gonna. I think that guy might have been a drug dealer. I don't know. He seemed kind of sketch, but at the same time, I don't think you could just sell drugs and then put that money into a bank. But either way, it's just like, I know that the more foreigners realize that they can speed run permanent residency here, the more people are going to come here to wash their money. And that's what a lot of Chinese people were doing abroad in like America and Canada, right? Like they would just buy up a bunch of properties, make them into like they would just keep them empty, except for like the months, like 1 month or two that they would go to that place, and they would just be empty the whole time. Or like they would do Airbnbs for ridiculous prices, and then they'd jack up the rent everywhere around that area. I mean, that's the same thing like for Google or any other big company when they move into a place, or like Aspen, like they find a place that's like super awesome, that's like not that's like untouched by the rich, so to speak, and then they just totally move all the rich people in there, they push all the other people out, and then they all have to live on the outskirts of some place. And so like that's another thing in Japan, guys. Like that's why it's like it's so important that if you move here, you should, like, I know that markets fluctuate and like, blah blah blah, but like if things keep going the way that they're going, real estate prices are only going to get higher and higher and higher. And so like that's why it's like you should, if you're going to move to Japan, consider buying a property, dude, because like if you want to move here and you want to live here, one of the bad things, or one of the things that I'm scared of, is that like more foreigners will come here and they're going to buy up all the land, and they're going to do the same thing they did in Canada, and then it's just going to raise up the housing prices for everything. Because like in Japan, everything comes here like 5 to 20 years later, right? Like Bon Jovi was lame in America but for like 20 plus years or whatever afterwards, he was still really popular in Japan. So like even when he was, it's same thing for movies and stuff too. It's like, oh, this movie, like, what do you call it? Like Need for Speed or something. Like that was really popular in America, but then it comes out in Japan like 6 months later, and then they're like, oh yeah, this is so cool, it's so popular, like that guy, like that scene in Eurotrip when they go to like Yugoslavia or something, and the guy's like, I love that Magnum PI, that guy's great or something, right? It's like, dude, that was like 20 years ago. What? You're not watching any of the new stuff. And so same thing with Japan. Like I'm worried that the housing crisis in Canada or America is going to slowly creep its way into here. I'm worried that like the wokeness, the like entitled bullshit LGBT wokeness is gonna seep into Japan too. And it's like, look, I'm all for feminism and like women getting paid equal, and equal rights and shit like that. But there's some people that just take it too far, and they build a mountain out of an anthill just to like make a point about their social justice point. And I'm actually reading a manga about that right now, where this woman she becomes like a porn star, and but her parents, like, even though she's of legal age, her parents are like, oh, she's got mental illness, and so, like, you know, she was taken advantage of. And the parents only do this because they want to sue the porn company in order to get money from them. And the porn company's like, nah, fuck this, we're not gonna sell them, or like they're like, we're not gonna pay these guys off, but at the same time we don't want the bad press, so they let the AV the porn star chick go. And like, she actually wanted to do porn, and like the porn company was doing everything right. They recorded everything, you know, every interaction and stuff. They made sure all the contracts were legit and stuff. And so it's like, and this woman wanted to do it, but because her parents were like such money grubby assholes, she had to quit. And then she like kind of spirals out of control then, just because you know, like, her parents just wanted money, right? And so the same thing in Japan, like, people want money, you know, and then like recently, you know, when the Prime Minister Abe, ex-Prime Minister Abe, he got killed, everyone's like, oh, why did he get killed? And then you find out that he's part of this, like, I didn't know about the cult beforehand, but apparently, like, Abe was part of this big cult called the I don't know, the Happy something, whatever, I don't know, it was a Korean cult, which is ironic because all the Japanese right-wingers that, like, kind of Abe was semi a part of, like, they hate Korea, so it's kind of ironic that he was connected to a cult that's formed in Korea. But yeah, I mean, like, you know, and even in Alice in Borderlands, they have that clip where they're talking about how that one main character, how his mom got sucked into a cult, and she took all that money and shit and spent it on there. And like, it's a real thing that happens in Japan, and like, that wouldn't have come to light, you know, or I guess it, I don't know if it would or wouldn't have, but it definitely came to light by that guy doing that thing, you know. And then you find out his mom had given like $500,000 to like $1 million or something out of their family's money to them, and like to that cult and shit. And it's just like, dude, like, this is the shit that people don't talk about and stuff, you know. And it's just like, but at the same time, I guess what I'm trying to say is that, like, look, if you want to be like super mega rich in Japan, and like, you know, like, build your house like super big, and like, you know, you're like a president of a company and stuff, like, the bigger and bigger you get, you'll encounter, you know, like, what is that old saying, like, more money, more problems, right? So like, the bigger you get, the more issues you'll encounter. But at the same time, if you're just trying to be like a normal kind of, like, you know, like middle class, just like dude, just living his life, not doing anything super fancy or whatever, and you're frugal enough and you save your money, like, Japan will be a perfect place for you. Like, you know, like, if you have big dreams of owning your own company or something in Japan, or like being mega rich or something, then yeah, you're probably going to encounter a lot more pushback from the people that already are rich here that are trying to do that. But like, I see in America, man, like, all these companies are buying up property, you know, they're flooding America with more crime and shit from illegal immigrants and shit. And it's like, they want to create that infighting, you know, like, they love the fact that people are fighting against, because it used to be a class war where it was like, you know, it's not about race war, it's about class war. Like, it's about us fighting the people in power. Like, you know, there's so many movies from the 90s of like, oh, we're fighting an evil corporation, or we're fighting the evil government. And like, when was the last time you saw a movie about that, you know? There's like, nah, like, it's, I don't think there's a big group or a big person, you know, like, controlling all of this, but I do think that there's a collective effort to stomp down certain opinions that are deemed unneeded or unnecessary, or like, they don't want them to bring it to light. And like, one of the things is like, oh yeah, going after the government being constantly corrupt or whatever. Like, they don't mind people ironically complaining about it on you know, on Twitter, because like, that doesn't really matter, even though I just said it kind of did earlier in the rant. But it's like, they, you know, but like, when you make a movie about it, that, like, you know, like that movie Parasite or whatever in Korea, talking about the class war and everything in Korea, like, the irony of all these rich people in Japan, or rich people in Korea, like, or like abroad, like, you know, praising it and be like, yeah, and I'm like, motherfucker, you're part of the problem. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, the whole point is it's just like weekend, smeek when, you know, whatever. It's like I think that as long as you don't mind living frugally like me and trying to save up as much money as you can each month, and everyone's like, well, inflation's going to make that money weak. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's why you have that 30 grand safety net and you build up more of it if you need to, but then you just invest because, there's always going to be stocks that are going down, and you could buy them when they're down, and if they stay down, hey, fuck it. Like at least you got a lot more money to play around with and stuff, you know. And I don't know. I feel like you take care of yourself, you take care of the people around you. That's the first part, and then worry about the rest of the world, right? And I think that I like the idea of more foreigners coming here if they learn Japanese and they want to be Japanese, like they want to participate in the holidays, they want to learn Japanese, they don't want to the people that don't just I don't want people to jump to conclusions and be like, oh, Japan's racist, oh, blah blah blah. And I'm like, no, I want people to fucking learn Japanese fluently and work together with Japan, protect the harmony, so to speak. Wow, momoreneto na. It's like you gotta work with Japan. Don't work to just complain and change Japan, for the things that don't really need to be changed. It's like, I need to be going to the women's bath. I need to go to the women's bath in the Sento because I identify it. And I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Hey, get out of here. Nah, your opinion. Okay, do that in America. You're not doing that here, Or it's just like, I don't know. I think that whenever you're about to complain about anything, think about all the other places in the world that don't have it as good as you, and then see if you really want to invest your time into complaining about it, because at the end of the day, all we have is time and energy, and if you're going to waste it, well, that's your choice, but, it's just there's a lot of things to be appreciative of, and there's things to complain about. And I feel like Japan is one of those places where you got to appreciate the good, while you got it. So, because you never know what future Japan is going to be importing from the West. And so, I remember people were complaining about Abe being like, oh, man, he's trying to militarize Japan. And I'm like, you know what? I miss that old argument. I like that better than now, And anyway, I don't know. I'm rambling, and we've already hit the 1 hour mark. So, with that being said, guys, I'm gonna head out here. Hey, if you made it this far, then do me a favor and write down this super secret end comment to show me you made it this far. And the end comment is bandanas kick ass. I don't know. It's always something simple. Just write down bandanas kick ass, or or just write down triple cheeseburger sexually. I don't know. Something. You just write those down to show me you made it this far. Did you remember to smash the like button? Okay, thank you for that. And I should be posting the URL for the live stream after this, so make sure to go over there and check it out and say hi to me in real time. And I don't know, guys, just let me know your opinions, man. This is one of the things that I really love about making YouTube videos. Is it's not just about me, it's about hearing what you guys have to say about this subject too, So anyways, with that being said, thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you over on the live stream. Peace out. Yeah, buddy. Where's the thing? Yep, okay.